Welcome to the Hunting Dog Public, where we talk about everything hunting dogs and more. I'm your host, Cody Moreland, and let's drop that tailgate.
Today's word comes from Hebrews 4:16. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Hebrews 4:16.
Welcome to the Hunting Dog Public Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Moreland, and I'll be teaming up with my good friend Chris Knight, and we plan to hit all facets of hunting dogs. We might interview deer dog people, coon dog people, rabbit dogs, hog dogs. I think he even has a person lined up for blood dogs. But we plan to hit it all. We was talking and we felt like there was a big void for squirrel dogs in the podcast realm. So we're real passionate about it. And we decided to start this to mainly do that. It'll probably be 75% squirrel hunting and 25% everything else. So we appreciate y'all listening and giving us a chance. I hope y'all enjoy this podcast. And without further ado, this is Mr. Alan Franklin. All right, well, here we go. So, Mr. Alan Franklin, tell us a little about yourself and where you're from.
Well, I'm from Noble County, which is Sayersville, Ohio. Lived there my whole life since I've been born. I'm probably only like 3 or 4 miles from where I was born. And that's just kind of where I've lived forever.
Yes, sir. What's the terrain like up there?
I always call it Little West Virginia. Right, everybody thinks it's kind of like we're in Ohio. They think of like up north around Columbus where it's all level, but we don't have any level ground. We have hills. We don't have any mountains. They're nothing like West Virginia, but that's why it's called Little West Virginia all the time where we live. It's kind of the way it is, just all hills and terrain and stuff like that. A lot of coal company land, cut out timber, not much farmland here. About the only thing we do here is cattle. There ain't hardly no crops or nothing around where I live. Yes, sir.
So mostly big timber, and most of it you can walk up, just not mountainous or nothing.
Yeah, it's not mountain. A lot of the timber's been getting going because they've done a lot of strip mining, and probably the last 5 or 10 years, I probably lost half of our hunting ground to strip mines and oil and gas and stuff like that.
Yes, sir. Do you hunt mostly public or do you hunt private?
I probably mostly private. The last year or so, I've been hunting more public than I've never really hunted public my whole life until the last few years. Because, like I said, I've easily lost a third or a fourth of my property private land that I had. That coal companies bought it out and they're stripping it. There's no trees or nothing there whatsoever. And I'm just kind of running out of places.
Yes, sir. If it's like ours, our public land gets hunted pretty hard, so it's probably a big change.
See, truly around here for squirrel hunting and coon hunting, that's not the case. All honesty, there's not very many squirrel hunters around here. You know, you got maybe like me and Justin Hitchens and a few guys like that, Randy Hessen. There's a few guys like that lives, and they're, Justin's 5 or 10 miles from me, and Randy's 15 or 20 miles from me. But just right here where I live, there's not a bunch of coon hunting and squirrel hunting anymore. So, but deer hunting, oh yeah, public hunting, deer hunting, turkey hunting, oh man, it's just like, it's crazy for that part of that kind of hunting. But squirrel and coon hunting, no, there's not. It's not hitting real hard around here. But it's not real good hunting like it used to be at all either, and that's probably why.
Yes, sir. I guess a question that's kind of off topic I'm curious about. Do y'all get to run your squirrel dogs on the public land during deer season?
We do some. You do not. We have 7 days, I think 7 days of shotgun season. Then we have a muzzleload season, I think 3 days. And then we might have another time that we have 1 or 2 days of gun season. Again, we do not go in the woods then. That is not safe whatsoever. Other than that, our bow season comes in early, I think September or October. I don't deer hunt anymore, so that's why I don't keep track of the seasons. But I do hunt then. I buy orange vest. I put orange vest on Most of my dogs, a couple of my dogs don't like them. They won't hunt with them on. Don't ask me why. I don't know why, but I try to wear orange vests on them. We don't have a whole bunch of trouble. Most of the guys are pretty, hey, it's public hunting. They understand that. We haven't run into a bunch of problems with that, but that's just kind of like, I do hunt a good bit. Now, coon hunting, that's fine. We hunt all the time. Nothing bothers that. Same way with turkey season, the first weekend, we kind of try to stay away from that just because there's so many people. I mean, turkey hunting and deer hunting is crazy around our county and country, right around where we live.
Yes, sir. Well, the reason I asked is here, I mean, our squirrel season and deer season pretty much overlap the entire time. So we're out here fighting guys over public land.
Gun season don't hear. We only have a few days of gun each one, but like bow season does. I know, I know like some of the states have like gun season for months, don't they?
Yes, sir. Well, if we see a truck, we move on and don't turn in on people because try to give them the courtesy. They got up before we did and got there before we did, so we try to do that. But, at times, you never know if you turn a dog loose and it goes 600 or 700 yards down the road and you didn't see the truck down there,
Exactly, yep.
But
we haven't had a bunch of trouble. We've been, for overall, most guys are pretty understanding about all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
Try to. There's a few that don't.
How old was you when you first started hunting with a hunting dog?
With a hunting dog whenever I was born.
Oh, wow.
I mean, truly, my dad has done that. My dad and my grandpa has did that forever. So as soon as I was old enough to go, now we did mostly, my dad and my grandpa did mostly coon hunting, and they ran fox dogs a lot. But coon hunting, I mean, that was, when I was growing up, my dad made that a job. I mean, it was from dark till daylight the first month of season. I mean, that's just the way my dad did. But coons were expensive. Coons were probably anywhere from $15 to $25 or $30 a pelt. And my dad was working in the factory for $2.75 an hour. I mean, do the math there. Catch 10 coon a night or go work 8 hours a night.
Yes, sir. Makes sense to me.
And he took all his vacation. We did that. And so, I've seen my dad carry my brother, and I'm holding on to his back pants pocket, and he's dragging me through these hills, and we just went all the time. I mean, there was no time at all. We learned how to skin coons and how to shoot coons, and he'd drop us out on one side and go pick us up on the other side. And I mean, my whole life, that's all I've ever done. Nothing but done dogs. I mean, that was my sport when I was growing up. We didn't do little league baseball. We didn't do nothing. We went hunting, and that's just what we done. Yes,
sir. So let's transition into, you coon hunted starting out. At what point did you buy a cur dog or a squirrel dog, whatever you may?
Probably 80s. My dad's old coon dogs were a lot. We had mostly English dogs, and they were a lot like my cur dogs that I have now. I mean, they hunt 25, 30 minutes, and we kind of ran out of. We couldn't find the coon dogs we wanted, but back then they were doing like the ones that never come back and hunted forever. So we ended up getting a couple cur dogs. I found a nice one over here off of Jim Hatchard, my first OMCBA dog. And he was a really nice coon dog, squirrel dog, kind of what we wanted. And then somebody's like, oh man, it'd be fun to, let's do some squirrel hunting. So we took them squirrel hunting, and man, that was like really, that was kind of cool. And we started shooting squirrels out, and then it just kind of rolled from there. But we mostly started out with the cur dogs to coon hunt. They were, because hunt grapevines where trees and stuff are. I mean, they'll tree every coon out through there. And that's what it was all about back then. It was about the money part of it and how much coon were worth, and you didn't want to miss any coon. You wanted to get all of them as you went through there. So. And we just kind of did that, and once I got them, I just kind of I guess I fell in love with them, and I've liked them ever since then.
Yes, sir. Getting on some squirrels, that's a big time. But what about, so when you got your first dog, was you just looking for a dog, any dog? Was you looking for a certain dog, a breeder? Or?
You mean when I bought my first good
dog.
OMCBA dog, or just a dog?
Well, the first squirrel dog or cur dog in general, was you just happened upon a cur dog, or was you looking for
I did. I just happened upon it. actually Jim Hatchard. I don't know how I come up with his name. He lived at Barnesville, which is about 20 miles from me. He had bred one of his little females to George Toots's Tug-a-Jug dog. And I don't know. My grandpa's like, hey, I know where there's a little cur dog at. So he takes me over there and he trees on a frozen squirrel, and I bought it.
Yeah.
And that's how I got started with. That was my first OMCBA dog. His name was Blue Ghost. And he was from George Toots's male dog, and Jim Hatchard's female is where he came from.
And you started off coon hunting with him, and then you went into pleasure squirrel. Did you ever competition hunt him?
I did a little bit. He was a little bit, if the wrong person was with me, if somebody was really loud or did goofy stuff, sometimes he wouldn't hunt very good. I did. I made him a squirrel champion, a night champion. I think I even was a reserve world night champion with him. But he was not even close to the dogs that I have had after that and nowadays. But he was fun. I mean, he would treat everything that there was, every coon and squirrel out there. He just wasn't real classy. He was, but yeah, he was fine. He was just a little bit weird around strangers. I mean, it took me, I hunted him 6 or 7 months with just a long rope on him so I could catch him. He was kind of hard to catch. That's why I never raised any puppies or nothing out of him. Just because he was kind of weird like that.
Yes, sir. So, I guess I want to start off with the Thunder dog you have. Did did you happen upon him, or?
No, actually, I looked him up. I only had a few tree and curs my whole life, and I had bought a little tree and cur from an Amish boy, and I mean, me and my buddy hunted the tar out of him. His name was Petey. We had him ready for the big world hunt out there in Illinois at the time, which that's like 100+ dogs at the time. And I came home the day before we was leaving, and he had did a somersault or something in the pen and twisted his stomach, and he killed himself. His stomach blew up, and he was he died. So I told my dad, I said, I got to find another cur dog. And I just happened to see Thunder in the I think it was in a full cry. And it was like out of Streak Junior and Georgetta. Well, back then, everybody read the full cry. Well, that was kind of one of the fancy crosses back then, Streak Junior and Georgetta and the Streak dogs and all that stuff. So I told my dad, I said, let's give Kenny Smith a call, which I didn't know Kenny at the time, and now we're like best of friends. And we went out there, and he treated 9 squirrels that day, and I brought him home. But, yeah, I had a little tree and cur dog, and then he ended up dying, and that's how I got Thunder. I wouldn't even had him because he was only 2.5 years old. So if nothing would have happened to him, I would have never got Thunder. No way.
Yes, you wouldn't have been in the market.
Exactly. I would have never been looking for him whatsoever.
So was he already named Thunder, or did you give him a different name?
Nope, his name was Thunder. The only thing I did was add Franklin to it.
I got you. Well, one of my questions was, where did Thunder come from? So I didn't know if you had that.
Kenny Ralph Smith in Indiana.
Okay.
Where he come from.
All right. How did Thunder hunt? Was he a go get treed and get hooked, one bark dog, or what was he?
He wasn't. Now it's actually a one bark tree dog all the time. I mean, he didn't bark up very much that he wasn't tree, but if I needed to in a hunt, I mean, I have treated him on one bark before. I could kind of tell certain barks he was a one bark tree dog, but he was a go get treed. I mean, when you turned him loose, he was gone. There was no are you going to go hunting or whatever? I mean, he went. He got ever how deep he needed to do. He'd go get treed. He'd stay treed ever how long he needed to.
Yes, sir. He has sired some, I guess his lineage per se has passed on some pretty outstanding dogs. Is there a trait that he passes on good, or he passed on good, that you kind of see on down the line?
Most of his dogs are really good hunters. They hunt good. Because, I mean, that's what a lot of people makes fun of the cur dog guys is they're not very good hunters. They don't hunt very good or stuff like that, which that's changed a lot over the years. But even in those days, Thunder was a really good hunter, and those were the traits about all the dogs out of him. I mean, you go back and, Geronimo, Tank, Apache, and all those dogs. I mean, those are all good hunters, good tree dogs, stay put tree dogs, and they have a game. and they were all good reproducers, just like he was.
Yes, sir. For the people that don't understand, the squirrel dogs kind of get the misconception of they always hunting in sight, and I tell a lot of people that my dog is a go get treed, don't matter how far it is. So it sounds like they're pretty similar.
Oh yes, I mean, even like my young dog that I got now, he's getting to be about too much dog for me as old as I'm getting.
Yes, sir.
When you turn him loose, if there ain't no squirrels close by, you're gonna go get him somewhere. And those are the exact same traits that, when you turn Thunder loose, I'm telling you, he'll tree. If there was 9 squirrels in that acre of woods, Thunder would tree all 9 of them. But if there wasn't no squirrels in that woods, I didn't bother him to go to the next woods and find a squirrel. That's just the way he was. I mean, he could tree them as fast as anybody that I've seen. I mean, 10 feet apart or 1,000 yards apart. I mean, that's just the way Thunder was. And that's the way all my dogs have been coming up through, all the dogs that I've had so far. I keep that trait in there. I keep some of those traits and stuff like that in there.
Yes, sir. Do you try to keep a pup out of the litters, or do you just breed
I used to all the time. I tried to keep. What I really used to do, I had an Amish boy probably for 10 years. I would give him 1 or 2 puppies or 3 puppies, maybe like 1 out of a litter, 1 out of a litter, and 1 out of a litter, or whatever. And he would let them run loose on his farm and get them. I mean, they just get to treeing, and once they started treeing, I go get them and hunt them. That's what I did for several years. I mean, he was a good kid, a really nice boy, and he was smart with dogs. And that's all I ever done, let them run loose on the farm up there, and they started all by themselves. I didn't do no training or didn't do anything. I mean, that's what people was like, well, you trained a lot. I didn't train hardly any dogs. I took them hunting, and they did it. I didn't teach them to tree up. I didn't teach them to hunt. They just kind of did it all by themselves. They just naturals at it.
Well, I guess that's what good traits get you.
Yeah.
On that puppy side of it, is there a certain age that a puppy has to start showing you a certain thing by before you move on? Or you just kind of, once you get to liking one, you're just going to stick with it?
I've probably changed over the years. That's the way it used to be. I mean, I'd pick out a puppy, and that's the one I wanted, and I would mess with it and try to get it going. I guess I'm a little more anymore. They need to start earlier and do earlier things. I guess since the internet got out there, I mean, we've got all these 3-4-month-old wonder dogs that's fully trained, and so you kind of like to keep those traits going so that you can say, hey, my dogs do. And most of my dogs, I mean, all honesty, if you give them the chances and opportunities, I mean, they ought to be treeing 5, 6, 7, 8 months old. They ought to be doing something. I mean, yeah, they've got a long ways to go from there, but they ought to be looking up treeing yard squirrels or pen squirrels or farm groundhogs or whatever. They need to be doing some of that stuff early. I'll be honest with you, I won't keep a puppy much more. I like for them to be showing some interest at least before they're a year old. I mean, the earlier the better.
Yes, sir. I mean, you can feed a good one as easy as you can feed a bad one.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Is there a certain way that you pick puppies, or do you just more or less pick off of looks, or are you looking for maybe the bold one?
For when I very first started, I just took the last puppy. Whatever everybody else didn't pick, that's the one that I kept. Or I let my kids pick when they were little. Now I don't have too many. I've got my grandkids now, but now I do a lot of picking on like what they're out of, the colors they are. And I know that has absolutely nothing to do with it. But if I'm going to keep one, and if I don't like a blue one, then why keep a blue one? Keep the color you like my girl, like you just said a minute ago. You might as well keep one that you like and feed it. I'm a brindle person or black brindle. Those are my favorite colors. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of the other colors. That's just my favorite color, and I guess probably because Thunder was brindle and Thundersport was brindle, and all my dogs were that color, so that's my favorite color.
Yes, sir. Well, I get that.
No, there's nothing. I do try to pick a bold puppy. I'm not out for a backward puppy or something like that, and I try. I don't have too many of them. Sometimes I'll get one, and I don't know if it's little things that happen to them or whatever. But I try to breed that stuff and keep the bold puppies out there, and the outgoing puppies, and the fun puppies, and the puppies that can be corrected, and the puppies that can be trained.
Yes, sir. I mean, I understand that. If everybody liked the same color dog, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart up there, would you?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Thunder is the first dog that puts you on the map, and then I noticed after that, you named quite a few dogs, Thunder, and then Sport, and then obviously on down the line. Is there a reason you got away from that? I've noticed you got like Duck Creek Razor now. So
No, actually, they're all the exact same. You mean why did I change their name?
yes, sir. Why'd you get away from the Thunder? Went Thunder and then Thunder Sport and then on down the line. So
Oh, the only reason that Razor's not is because Eric Wheeler, which as he was growing up, him and Justin Hitchens hunted with me all the time. I mean, and they hunted together and they had their own dogs. Well, then, when boys get married and they kind of veer away from it, him and Justin both kind of got away from hunting. And then they came over and Justin ended up. I said, well, go ahead. And he got Demon from me, and he took him over there, trained him, done everything with him, got him going. Well, Eric come up. He's like, I think I might get back in. I said, well, Brandy has a litter of pups out there. I said, go out there and pick one. So he picks out Razor. Well, he trains him, gets him going and everything, and does well with him. Well, then his kids were getting in sports, and I'm like, man, I said, why don't you sell me part of Razor back? And I said, I'll promote him for you. I'll hunt him. And that's just Eric named him Duck Creek Razor. I mean, actually, he's half Thundersport. He's out of a Thundersport female bred back to, he's out of Thundersport's Brandy and Thundersport's King Bud. So he's actually still half Thundersport. But Eric lives on Duck Creek, so he calls him Duck Creek Razor. And then I've been calling his puppies DC, which is Duck Creek's what it stands for. That's where Eric lives at, to kind of keep Eric and thanks to Eric, he let me have him and hunt him. And I mean, I really like Razor. I really like Razor.
yes, sir.
That's kind of way I got away from the name. I mean, but they're all the exact same blood. I mean, he's got as much Thundersport in him as any of the other dogs that I have.
Do you pleasure hunt a whole lot versus competition? Which one would you say you do more of?
I pleasure hunt the most, but I still really like the competition part of it. I mean, I like that thrill of it, the excitement of, going to hunt, getting up in the morning, going out, hunting against, all the hunters that there is out there, the competition hunts. I mean, I like it. Now, some people doesn't like that, but I do. It doesn't upset me if I lose. I don't get one way or the other, win or lose. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like winning all the time. I mean, I don't do anything I don't want to win at, but it doesn't bother me if I lose. If my dog does good and you beat my dog, I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me a bit. But I probably overall, I mean, I'm sure I pleasure hunt them a lot more than I competition hunt. But when I had Thundersport and Kane and Bud and all them, I competition hunted a lot. I mean, I think Thundersport, I won 17 out of 21 weekends that I went in a row. That's how much I competition hunted him. That's when I was young.
Yes, sir. That's incredible there. That's a good stretch. Is there anything that you do to set up a dog? Do you do something different the week before a hunt versus pleasure hunting to try to get out of the routine of getting squirrel shot out? Or
no, I don't. Because I try to hunt my dogs like I'm going to competition hunt all the time. I mean, I'll hunt them a little bit more by themselves before the hunt. I always call it trying to get their head screwed straight, back on straight, whether or not other dogs messing around. Because sometimes you start shooting a squirrel out over here, and you shoot a squirrel out over there, and you shoot a squirrel over there, and you don't pay attention. And I try to really be careful about that. I try not to set my dog up to lose. I don't want to. If your dog's tree, hey, go to your dog, make sure I get to my dog, and do those things. You can't have a pleasure dog 6 days a week and hunt 1 day a week and do it different. I mean, you can't. You got to stay set up all the time and have them ready. You can't let them be loose on the tree, chasing squirrels through the woods and timbering and doing all kinds of crazy stuff and then expecting to do it the right way when you don't have a gun with you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, over all the years that I've did this, I kind of competition hunt all the time. If we're pleasure hunting and you're treed, I'll go to my dog and I'll put him off of that tree and I will not let him go to the other dog's tree. And it doesn't take hardly no time at all. That's no problem whatsoever. Razor and Sport and all my dogs, you can shoot and everything, and they never went to the other dogs just because I never let them do that.
Do you give them so many feet from the tree? Normally they'll timber out, move a tree over, or do you have like a set distance?
I don't mind if they timber a squirrel if they have a squirrel.
If the squirrel's not per se in your dog's tree, do you say I give you 10 steps?
Shooting the squirrel out?
Yes.
Yes, if I'm gonna competition hunt, all honesty, if we're getting ready for a hunt, I don't care if it's one tree over. If it's not going to fall in the vicinity of that tree he's on, I don't want him in his brain to think that it's like 4 trees over and it falls 50 feet away. I don't want him to think that. I don't care exactly. I don't do a certain footage part of it, but I kind of like for that squirrel to fall in that perimeter of his tree that he's on or pretty close so that he thinks it came directly out of his tree.
What I'm picking up is if it's more or less under the tree's canopy.
Exactly. That's where and sometimes you mess up and it does one thing or the other, but if you try to do that the majority of the time, then it turns out okay.
I've got you. I see you do a lot of WTDA, which for the people that don't know is World Tree Dog Association hunts. I see you do a lot of that. Is that just because of the area you're in, or is that you just like the organization?
I do both. I mean, it's since Don has passed away. He passed away a few years ago. It's really slid off a lot. But it was pretty big right here in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Maryland, West Virginia. I mean, that's where I went to all the hunts at. I mean, there was hunts every weekend somewhere. And it was a good organization. I mean, there was a lot of really, really good dogs in it, good people. Don Moats was like a really good promoter. I mean, he had some big-time world hunts, and you won all kinds of good stuff and everything. But it's really slacked off, which kind of when the leader's not there, it kind of like it hurts it. I mean, it's still surviving around here, but there's not a ton of hunts. I mean, there's a hunt or two in PA, and there's a couple, 3 hunts around here, but all the hunts are struggling right now. I think part of it's because there's so many of them, so many different organizations that it's hard to have one dominant organization now.
Yes, sir. I saw somebody made a post the other day wanting to know how many different associations you could be considered a world champion in. It's getting a little.
I know.
But
yeah, that's what I told somebody when sport was young. I had maybe 3 chances. I had the National Current Feistlin, I had WTDA, and then I had, which back then I didn't even when sport was young, I didn't even go to the OMCBA because it was like 9 hours away. I just didn't do that. So I only had 2 or 3 chances. But shoot, if you want, you probably got, 7 or 8, 9 chances a year to win a world hunt now? With all the little world hunts and the regular world hunts and everything. I mean, there's several chances to be world champions now in 1 year.
Yes, sir. Well, I think it's a lot of just the area you're in. They have more.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Now, for the people that doesn't know, I don't know if you know exactly off the top of your head, but how many world championships have you won?
Do I have? Have I had?
Yes, sir.
Probably somewhere around 20 or 22 or 23 probably.
And if I've done my research right, that's with 9 different dogs? Or do you happen to know that?
Take your word on that.
Well, I thought I'd kind of took Clayton Starks.
Probably, yeah. I guess I never even thought about that. Probably 8 or 9 dogs, probably, yeah.
Yes, sir. I use Clayton Starks info. I mean, shout out to Clayton.
Yep, that's right.
Shout out to Clayton. But
yep.
I look like 9 different dogs.
Something like that, yep.
That's pretty impressive. A lot of state titles, different states.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I won lots and lots of state titles. We used to hunt them a lot.
So if somebody was looking to get into a cur dog, they didn't know anything about them, would you suggest breeders? Would you suggest looking at certain traits, or do you really have an opinion? I know all these are opinion-based, but in your opinion, how would you go about suggesting somebody that didn't know?
The first thing I would do would be, there is some really, really good lines of dogs, not just Thunder, not just, there's some really good lines out there. Probably the first thing I would do is, where are you from? If you're from Texas, I might as well give you somebody out that way as somebody from Ohio. I mean, come on, you want to drive 17 hours? You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
and
sir.
some people kind of like, I do that sometimes. I'm like, really, I can get a puppy to you, but if you go see so-and-so or whatever, they've got some of my Thunder dogs out there, or they've got this line of dogs or that line of dogs, and there's a bunch of different really good lines of dogs, and I ain't going to name them because somebody will get mad at me if I forget theirs.
I understand that.
There's some really, back in the day, my dog was starting, you would go to a hunt and there would be a handful of dogs. One of these 4 dogs is going to win this hunt, even though there's 65 dogs in it. One of these 4 or one of these 10 dogs are going to win this hunt. I'm telling you, you go to a hunt now, and every dog in it's going to be capable of winning. I mean, there's some really good lines. And I would just probably try to figure out where they're from. I've been around. I know tons of people and everybody, and I can probably give somebody a direction to go or where to go for that.
Yes, sir. Well, I was just trying to help the people that might be newer to it.
Yep.
Would you suggest going to a dog that has titles over, say, somebody that's a reputable breeder that pleasure hunts strictly, or do you really you don't have opinion in that?
There's probably most of the good breeders are going to have good titles. I'm not saying that there ain't some good pleasure guys out there. They're harder to find if you just personally don't know those people. Then it's hard to do that. But it wouldn't make no difference. They had some really good pleasure dogs, and I wanted to add that to my kennel. That wouldn't bother. They wouldn't have to have any titles for me to do that.
If you get ready to breed one of your dogs to another dog, do you try to keep it in a close group of friends, or do you just say, I like the way that dog hunts over there, I'd like to breed to that dog?
In all my years, I have probably only bred to other people's dogs a handful of times. To keep a line of dogs going, you kind of got to keep it in the family. Now, you do have to outcross once in a while, but I usually do my outcrossing with, like, females. There's hardly nobody do I ever go to breed to other male dogs. I do my outcrossing with females. I'll get a jukebox female, I'll get a streak female, I'll get a tree knocking light female, and bring all that stuff to my dogs. That way I have more control over it. I don't go to other people's male dogs hardly ever. Nothing wrong with it, nothing whatsoever. I've always had good male dogs, and I've always wanted to promote my male dogs, and I've always wanted to keep my line going through my male dogs, through my thunder dogs. If you let it go one generation, you're done.
Yes, sir.
You can't skip a generation and then ever gain that back.
Yes, sir. Well, I was just curious. I see a lot of people that are trying to decide what they want to breed to, and you've been doing it so long, I didn't know if you had a certain way you go about doing it.
Right, but the average person won't look at it the same way that I do.
Yes, sir.
If you're not going to worry about, like, I always want to keep, my whole life since I've had thunder, I try to keep as much thunder or thunder sport in my dogs as possible, because once it starts watering down, unless you can find somebody to help you out, you can't never bring it back. Once you get down to a quarter, you can't get it back to a half, no matter how many quarters you breed back. You can't do that. So, now if you're just wanting good squirrel dogs, no big deal. That's who I would go hunt with, a dog that has the ability and the things that I like hunting, treeing, handling, all that stuff. Then that would be fine to go do that. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It depends on what you're wanting to do. That's what because I've had guys ask me, what do you think? I'm like, well, you want to keep a line of dogs going? You want to keep good squirrel dogs, coon dogs? That's what you have to decide, because it's a lot of work to keep a line of dogs going.
I could imagine.
A lot of work.
Do you think breeding like that, we have made the dogs better, per se?
Like I said a little bit ago, dogs are a lot better. I'm not saying that there ain't a dog back years ago that's good, but overall the dogs are better than they used to be, and I think everybody's done a pretty good job at breeding the things that they need to breed to keep everything going.
All right, I had just a couple of more questions, and I'd let you go. So, do you title your dogs because you want to breed them, or you just want to see where they stand with the other dogs in the competition, or you just enjoy competing in general?
I just enjoy doing it. I mean, yeah, I do kind of like to see where I stand, but I just like doing it. I mean, if you don't like doing it, you're not going to go. I mean, over the years, over my 40 years of being in this, I've seen people come and last 4 or 5 years here and 4 or 5 years. That's because they don't love it. They'll be like, well, I got to do. Well, if you really, really love it and you like to do it, you're going to be there. And that's what I like to do. I like going to hunt. I couldn't even tell you how many friends I've made. Thousands of friends that I've made. I mean, like lifelong friends. Kenny Smith, I bought thunder from. Every year we spend 4 or 5 days together somewhere. Me and the Loudons and him, we spend that. And I met the Loudons. They brought their female up, their pepper dog. Adam saw thunder swim high water, tree, have a squirrel, And he told his dad when he was like 12 years old, that's the dog I'm breeding to. And then from then, we've been like best friends forever. I mean, and every year we do like a hunt together, Kenny Smith and Adam and Chuck, and we spend 3-4 days together. And it's just, I mean, and there's all kinds of different friends that I've done that with. I mean, friends that I would have never even met whatsoever. I mean, I wouldn't even know their name. And that's why I like to do it. Just all that stuff. You know, the other things, just like icing on the cake, winning a world hunt. I mean, yeah, that's kind of cool. And it's kind of great to do that. But if you think of all the other great things, friends that you've made and fun you've had, and, you know, my boys has come through and done all this stuff with me, and my grandsons are doing this stuff with me now. And it's just like, I just like to do it. I mean, I do.
It's a great atmosphere.
I like to do dogs, and I continue to do it just because I really like to do it.
It is a great atmosphere. Everybody likes to talk about dogs, and everybody understands how much work it takes that you've put in, because they're for the most part doing it also with theirs. So I really enjoy that also.
Yep.
What about, do you have an off season, or do you condition your dogs all year?
Honestly, right now, kind of. I coach high school softball, and it starts the end of March, the 1st of April. I hit a couple hunts. I'm going to try to get to Jamestown when it comes around, but when I do softball, that's kind of my off season, because it's like right now, today I'm going to a game today in a little bit, and then Monday we're going to be in the district semifinals for our school. So it's kind of every day, and that's kind of my off season. And I'll come home if it's not dark, you know. I'll come home and go hunting a little bit sometimes after softball or whatever. But if I have an off season, that's it. Or the middle of August. That's kind of like our 4-H and fair around here. And sometimes I'll take a little bit off there. But no, we don't have a lot. Now I take off squirrel hunting, I do. But me and Nathan Albritton and Justin and some of those boys will do some coon hunting in the summertime. We don't have snakes and ticks in Ohio, so you can coon hunt all summer. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. So you're not letting them tree squirrels during the summer. You just conditioning them?
Not a whole bunch, because it's so thick around here, and you absolutely cannot find a squirrel because we have big trees. I mean, you have trouble in some of our trees finding squirrels in the wintertime when you're by yourself, because they just keep going around and around and around, and they hide from you. I do not. When it gets really hot here in Ohio, most people quit squirrel hunting. I mean, you don't do very much of it. The hunts all quit here. Nobody has any hunts. But yes, I do take off when it gets hot weather. Like probably from now, the leaves are almost on here. Once the leaves get all the way on, we won't do much squirrel hunting until probably September. Middle of September, we'll start squirrel hunting again.
I got you. So we're just trying to promote squirrel hunting. Is there anything in general you think that people could do? I know it's a tough question, but to promote it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's not a great answer. I kind of been thinking about that, and I thought, you know, as a guy, we need to hunt hard. We need to keep our papers and keep all of our papers to be true. You know, have the right bloodlines on it and everything. You can't keep a line of dogs going if you don't do that. We need to hunt hard. We need to take our kids hunting, our grandkids hunting, and we need to promote like all the hunts. I mean, you need to, whether you want it to be WTDA, OMCBA, USDC, UMCA, or NKC, UKC, and I probably missed somebody, but you know, you don't have to do every one of them. That's expensive, but support somebody. Go out, support all the UKC hunts. Go out and support all the WTDA hunts. Go out and support all the OMCBA hunts. Because it's hard to survive anymore. These clubs are really struggling when you have a hunt, you put all the time into it, and you have like 5 dogs show up, or 10 dogs show up, or 20 dogs show up. That's hard, and that can keep everything going. I mean, that can help us take your grandkids when you go to them hunts, take your kids when you go to them hunts, take your neighbor when you go to them hunts. That helps promote it and keep it going, because it's probably a dying sport. I mean, hunting's a dying sport, period. I think we got to be careful or we're going to lose it.
Yes, sir. Not the younger generation, which I'm still in my mid-30s. I'm not going to say I'm young or old. I guess I'm middle.
Right. Not,
but
I'll trade you.
But, my kids, all they worry about is electronics, and I get them out of the house as much as I can. And we'll go make a drop or two, and I try to make it fun for them, and they love it. I let them, they say, can we pull vines? I say, you pull away. I hope you pull. But I try to make it fun for them and not, pack them 6 miles, make a drop or two. And my little boy asked me the other day if we was going to go. I said, it's a little hot right now, but I'm just trying to promote it and trying to get some information out there. And is there anything else you would like to add that we didn't cover? I know we covered a pretty broad.
Great. No, I think you did. I think you did a really good job, and I think you pretty well hit on everything. Like I said, just help promote everything and help. Go and have fun. Have hunts, take your kids, have fun, and support somebody or something.
Yes, sir. We're actually going to drop the first couple of podcasts on Coon Hunting University, and I keep asking people, why do they think that there's so many more coon hunters at Salem, Illinois, or wherever, versus the squirrel hunts? Because it's more or less the same thing, except for you're doing it during the day versus at night.
Right.
But I can never get an answer on that. You might have 20 dogs or 30 dogs at a world hunt for squirrel hunting, and I'd hate to put a number on how many's at the world hunt. It might be because it's just one.
But that is exactly right.
And
I think you hit that there is like we just talked a little while ago is you have 1 or 2 world coon hunts, right?
Yes, sir.
For hound dogs. So you don't have a choice. But now, and gas is $4.49. If I can go to the WTDA world hunt, that is 25 miles away, or do I go to the NKC world hunt or the UKC world hunt, which is 9 hours away? Which one do I choose?
Oh, it's a no-brainer for me.
And I'm not saying which one is more prestigious than the other one. Some are different than other ones, but you have so many different choices, and the way things are, people's going to choose the closer one for right now.
Well, people's going to be passionate about whichever one they hunt. So,
right.
NSD is going to say theirs is more prestigious. UMCA is going to say theirs is. WTDA.
Right. Oh, yes. Everybody does that.
And I think it falls down to that. I mean, it happened to me this past year.
Right.
I'm going to get into a little NSD this year, but, that's coming up.
Yep.
Well, I really appreciate you sitting down with us and taking your time out of your day. And I'm going to do the best we can to promote the sport of squirrel hunting. And I hope that y'all win the game today and finish out the year strong.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed that podcast as much as I did. I really want to appreciate Mr. Alan Franklin for cutting us a little time out of his day. He is a wealth of knowledge and some really outstanding dogs that he has had at his kennels. It's tough to have one of those dogs, much less 7, 8, 9, 10, however many he's had that he's won world titles with, and I just hope to get one. So we'll be hitting more squirrel hunting people up in the future. I appreciate y'all listening. If y'all would, please come to the Hunting Dog Public Facebook group. Give us a like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this, give us a thumbs up on there and maybe leave us a comment. Thank you for being here, and I hope y'all enjoyed it. Y'all have a good day, and like always, enjoy the great outdoors.